When a child lies beside their lifeless dog, something extraordinary happens. What unfolds next is truly miraculous. The last rays of sunlight painted the sky in soft pinks and oranges, casting a warm glow over the small rural town of Willow Creek. 11-year-old Lily held tightly onto the leash of Max, her loyal German shepherd. Max had been with her since she was a baby, a steadfast protector and a source of joy. He had seen her through scraped knees, lonely nights, and even the loss of her father a few years ago. "Come on, Max," Lily whispered, her voice wavering. "Just one more walk through the meadow, then we'll head home." She noticed his steps were slower than usual, his ears not as perky as they once were, but she tried to push the thoughts of his aging aside. As they made their way across the grassy field, the familiar rustle of the wind in the tall grass brought a fleeting sense of peace. For a brief moment, Lily felt everything was right in the world. But then, Max's movements became erratic. He stumbled, his legs giving out beneath him, and collapsed onto the ground. "Max!" Lily cried, dropping to her knees beside him. Her hands frantically stroked his fur, now damp with sweat. Tears filled her eyes as she shook him gently. "Wake up, Max! Please, wake up!" His breathing was shallow and labored, and within moments it stopped altogether. Lily pressed her face into his fur, her sobs racking her small frame. "You can't leave me," she whispered. "I need you." And then, as if the universe had heard her cries, a faint golden light began to radiate from Max's body. Lily lifted her head, her tear-streaked face illuminated by the mysterious glow. Her breath hitched as she watched the light grow stronger, enveloping Max in a warmth that seemed to pulse with life. As the golden light surrounded Max, Lily held her breath, unsure of what was happening. The meadow seemed to hum with an energy she couldn't explain, and for a moment, the world around her felt suspended in time. She watched in awe as Max's chest rose, ever so faintly. "Max?" she whispered, her voice trembling with both fear and hope. Max let out a soft, wheezing sound, his eyelids fluttering open. Lily gasped, her hands flying to cover her mouth. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Max, her Max, was alive. His warm brown eyes met hers, and though he was weak, there was a spark in them that hadn't been there before. "You're okay," Lily murmured, tears streaming down her cheeks as she leaned down to hug him gently. "You're back." Max slowly tried to lift his head, his body trembling with effort. Lily quickly stood, giving him space but staying close enough to support him. "Take it slow, buddy," she said, her voice filled with encouragement. "You've got this." Max eventually managed to get up, his legs unsteady but holding. Lily watched him closely, her heart pounding. Something about him seemed different. His movements were careful but deliberate. His ears perked as he scanned the meadow with a renewed alertness. Lily felt a strange shiver run down her spine. She didn't know what had just happened, but she knew it was something extraordinary. When they returned home, Lily's mother, Sarah, was waiting on the porch. Her face immediately filled with worry when she saw Lily's tear-streaked cheeks and Max's sluggish gait. "Lily, what happened? Is Max okay?" Sarah asked, rushing down the steps to meet them. Lily hesitated, unsure of how to explain what she had witnessed. He collapsed," she said softly. "I thought I lost him, Mom. But then something happened. He's alive, but different." Sarah knelt down, running her hands over Max's fur. He let out a soft huff, leaning into her touch. "He seems fine now," Sarah said, though her brow furrowed. "But we should keep an eye on him." That night, as Lily lay in bed, her mind raced with questions. What had brought Max back? Was it just luck? Or was there something more? She replayed the moment in the field over and over. The golden light, the hum in the air. It was all so surreal. She couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was at play. The next morning, Lily woke to find Max sitting by her bed, his tail wagging gently. He looked stronger, healthier than he had in months. His coat seemed shinier, his eyes brighter. Lily reached out to pet him, and the moment her hand touched his fur, a strange tingling sensation spread through her palm, making her pull back instinctively. "What was that?" she whispered, staring at her hand. Max tilted his head as if sensing her confusion. Throughout the day, Lily noticed more changes in Max. He seemed more energetic, more aware of his surroundings. When they went outside, he tugged at the leash, pulling her toward the meadow. It was as if he was trying to show her something, but Lily wasn't sure what. By the afternoon, she couldn't ignore his insistence any longer. "Okay, Max," she said, grabbing his leash. "Let's go back." The meadow was quiet when they arrived, the same golden field stretching out before them. But as they walked, Lily began to notice something she hadn't seen before. In the spot where Max had collapsed, the grass was scorched in a strange circular pattern. She knelt down, running her fingers over the burnt blades, and once again felt that odd tingling sensation. "What is this, Max?" she asked, looking at him. Max stood still, his ears perked, staring intently at the scorched area. Lily's heart raced as she realized there was more to this place than she had ever known. The air felt charged, like it was holding a secret just out of reach. She didn't understand it yet, but she was determined to uncover the truth. As Lily knelt by the scorched circle, a soft breeze swept through the meadow, carrying with it a faint hum that made the hair on the back of her neck stand on end. She glanced around, but the meadow was still. Even the birds seemed to have fallen silent, as though the entire world was holding its breath. "Max," Lily whispered, looking at her dog, who remained unnervingly focused on the spot. "What's going on here?" Max let out a low whine, his tail stiff and his eyes fixed on the horizon. Lily followed his gaze but saw nothing unusual, just the same rolling fields she'd always known. Still, the feeling in the air was undeniable. Something was different. Without fully understanding why, Lily reached into the scorched circle and touched the earth. The tingling sensation returned, this time spreading up her arm and sending a warmth through her chest. Her breath hitched as she quickly pulled her hand away, staring at the ground as though it might move beneath her. "I don't get it, Max," she said, her voice trembling. "But I think we're supposed to be here." Max barked suddenly, snapping Lily out of her thoughts. She looked at him, startled, and saw that his stance had shifted. His ears were forward and his tail wagged slightly. It was as if he was urging her to do something, but she couldn't figure out what. "Do you want me to dig?" she asked, half joking, though her hands instinctively reached for the dirt. Max barked again, this time more excitedly. Lily hesitated, then began to scrape away the top layer of soil. The ground was softer than she expected, almost as though it wanted to be uncovered. After a few minutes, her fingers brushed against something hard and smooth. She froze. "What is that?" she muttered, brushing away more dirt. Her hands uncovered a small and round object, no larger than a baseball. It was smooth like polished stone and faintly glowed with a golden hue. The same warmth she'd felt earlier seemed to emanate from it, filling her with a mix of awe and unease. Max whined again, lowering his head to sniff the object. He didn't touch it, but his body language was clear. He recognized it, or at least he understood it in a way Lily didn't. "Okay, boy," Lily said, picking up the stone carefully. "Let's take this home." As Lily knelt by the scorched circle, a soft breeze swept through the meadow, carrying with it a faint hum that made the hair on the back of her neck stand on end. She glanced around, but the meadow was still. Even the birds seemed to have fallen silent, as though the entire world was holding its breath. "Max," Lily whispered, looking at her dog, who remained unnervingly focused on the spot. "What's going on here?" Max let out a low whine, his tail stiff and his eyes fixed on the horizon. Lily followed his gaze but saw nothing unusual, just the same rolling fields she'd always known. Still, the feeling in the air was undeniable. Something was different. Without fully understanding why, Lily reached into the scorched circle and touched the earth. The tingling sensation returned, this time spreading up her arm and sending a warmth through her chest. Her breath hitched as she quickly pulled her hand away, staring at the ground as though it might move beneath her. "I don't get it, Max," she said, her voice trembling. "But I think we're supposed to be here." Max barked suddenly, snapping Lily out of her thoughts. She looked at him, startled, and saw that his stance had shifted. His ears were forward and his tail wagged slightly. It was as if he was urging her to do something, but she couldn't figure out what. "Do you want me to dig?" she asked, half joking, though her hands instinctively reached for the dirt. Max barked again, this time more excitedly. Lily hesitated, then began to scrape away the top layer of soil. The ground was softer than she expected, almost as though it wanted to be uncovered. After a few minutes, her fingers brushed against something hard and smooth. She froze. "What is that?" she muttered, brushing away more dirt. Her hands uncovered a small and round object, no larger than a baseball. It was smooth like polished stone and faintly glowed with a golden hue. The same warmth she'd felt earlier seemed to emanate from it, filling her with a mix of awe and unease. Max whined again, lowering his head to sniff the object. He didn't touch it, but his body language was clear. He recognized it, or at least he understood it in a way Lily didn't. "Okay, boy," Lily said, picking up the stone carefully. "Let's take this home." That night, Lily placed the stone on her bedside table, but sleep didn't come easily. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw flashes of light, heard faint whispers she couldn't quite make out. When she finally drifted off, her dreams were vivid and unsettling. She was standing in the meadow, the golden light surrounding her. Max was there, his eyes locked on hers, but when she reached out to touch him, he vanished. In his place stood a shadowy figure, its form indistinct but its presence undeniable. The figure raised a hand, pointing at the stone in her palm. "You must choose," a voice echoed, though Lily couldn't tell if it came from the figure or from within her own mind. Balance must be restored. The next morning, Lily woke with a start, the words from her dream still ringing in her ears. She glanced at the stone, its glow dimmer now, but still present. Max lay at the foot of her bed, his eyes open and watching her intently. "We have to go back," Lily said aloud, as if Max could understand her. His tail wagged once, a silent agreement. Reaching the meadow again, Lily felt the same charged energy in the air. She carried the stone in her pocket, its warmth a constant reminder of the mystery she was unraveling. Max led the way, his movements purposeful as though he knew exactly where to go. When they arrived at the scorched circle, the stone began to pulse faintly, its glow growing stronger. Lily took it out and held it in her hand, feeling the tingling warmth spread through her again. She knelt in the center of the circle and placed the stone on the ground. The moment it touched the earth, the wind picked up, swirling around them in a way that felt almost alive. The golden light reappeared, brighter than ever, and Max barked, his voice cutting through the strange hum that filled the air. Then, from the light, the shadowy figure emerged. It was clearer this time, more solid, though its face remained obscured. "You are the key," the figure said, its voice low but resonant. "What was taken has been returned, but balance comes at a cost." Lily's heart raced. "What do you mean? What cost?" The figure gestured toward Maximus, who stood beside her, calm but alert. His life was restored through the energy of this place, but it cannot sustain him forever. "You must decide whether to release him or risk the balance being broken." Lily felt tears well up in her eyes. "Release him. I don't understand. What happens if I don't?" The figure didn't answer directly. Instead, it said, "Nothing returns without purpose. The choice is yours." Lily's breath caught in her throat. The golden light swirled around Max, illuminating his form in a way that made him seem ethereal, almost otherworldly. The words of the figure echoed in her mind. "Nothing returns without purpose." She looked down at Max, who sat calmly by her side, his soulful eyes meeting hers. "I can't lose him," Lily whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He's my best friend. He's my family." Max tilted his head, almost as if he understood her anguish. He pressed his head gently against her leg, a gesture of reassurance, even in the face of uncertainty. "You said he was restored," Lily said, her voice trembling as she addressed the figure. "Why does it have to come at a cost? He didn't ask for this, and neither did I." The figure stood motionless, its presence both comforting and unnerving. The balance of life and energy must be maintained. What was given must also be returned. If you choose to keep him, the imbalance will grow, and it will affect not just you but everything around you. Lily's heart ached. She dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around Max. He nuzzled her gently, his warm breath against her face a bittersweet reminder of the bond they shared. "I don't know if I can do this," she murmured, her voice breaking. "I've already lost so much. Losing him feels like losing everything." Max barked softly, pulling her out of her despair. He stepped forward, closer to the glowing stone, and turned to look at her, his eyes filled with a calm acceptance. It was as if he was saying, "It's okay. You'll be okay." The wind intensified, swirling around the meadow as if urging her to make a decision. The figure stepped closer, extending an arm toward the stone, which pulsed brighter with each passing second. You must choose, the figure repeated. To hold on is human, but to let go is to honor the gift he has given you. Lily sobbed, her hands shaking as she reached for the stone. The warmth of it spread through her, not just physically but emotionally, filling her with memories of Max, the first day she brought him home, the countless adventures they'd shared, the comfort he'd given her in her loneliest moments. With a trembling voice, she finally said, "If I let him go, will he be at peace?" The figure inclined its head slightly. He will be where he is meant to be. His energy will flow back into the balance, and he will always remain a part of you. Lily looked at Max, her heart breaking. "I love you, buddy," she whispered. "I'll never stop loving you." Max stepped forward, nudging her hand with his nose one last time. Lily placed the stone back in the center of the circle. As it touched the ground, the golden light exploded outward, enveloping Max in a radiant glow. Lily shielded her eyes as the light grew blinding. When it finally subsided, the meadow was still. The scorched circles were gone, and the stone lay cold and lifeless on the ground. Max was nowhere to be seen. For a moment, the silence was deafening. Then, a soft breeze swept through the field, carrying with it a sense of peace. Lily felt the warmth of it against her skin, as though Max was still there, watching over her. She knelt in the spot where he had stood, clutching the now lifeless stone to her chest. "Thank you," she whispered, her tears falling freely. "For everything." The figure was gone, leaving Lily alone under the starry sky. But as she stood and began the walk back home, she felt an unfamiliar strength growing within her. Max had been her anchor, her companion, her protector. Now, his spirit would live on, guiding her in ways she didn't yet understand. In the days that followed, Lily found herself drawn to the meadow, feeling a quiet connection to the place where everything had changed. The stone remained on her bedside table, its glow long gone but its significance forever etched in her heart. Though Max was no longer by her side, she felt his presence everywhere. In the warmth of the sun, the rustle of the leaves, and the gentle breeze that seemed to whisper her name. The grief was heavy, but so was the gratitude. Max had given her a gift far beyond his companionship, the courage to let go, and the understanding that love, once given, never truly fades. As Lily stood in the meadow one last time, she closed her eyes and felt the wind embrace her. "You'll always be with me," she said softly, a smile breaking through her tears. And in that moment, she knew it to be true. The days turned into weeks, and though the ache in Lily's heart lingered, she began to find solace in the memories of Max. Life on the farm continued, each routine a reminder of his absence, but also a testament to the time they'd shared. The meadow where it all happened became a place of reflection for her, a sacred space that held both pain and peace. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Lily stood at the edge of the meadow. The breeze carried the scent of wildflowers, and the tall grass swayed gently. She held the stone in her hands, its surface now cool and smooth, but its weight seemed to carry the depth of her journey. As she gazed at the spot where Max had been enveloped in the golden light, Lily felt an odd sense of clarity. The words of the figure echoed in her mind. Nothing returns without purpose. What had Max's return and his departure truly meant? What had he been trying to show her? The answer came slowly, like the rising of the morning sun. Max had taught her the value of love, not just the love they'd shared, but the love she had for life itself. He had been a constant source of comfort and joy, and even in his final moments, he had given her a gift. The understanding that love, when freely given, creates ripples far beyond what can be seen or measured. The farm began to feel different to Lily, almost as if it carried a renewed energy. She started spending more time outside, tending to the fields, reconnecting with the rhythms of the earth. The animals seemed to respond to her differently, as if sensing her transformation. The once quiet girl now radiated a quiet strength, a resilience born from loss and acceptance. One day, as she was mending the fence near the pasture, a stray dog appeared at the edge of the property. Its coat was matted, and its frame was thin, but its eyes held a spark of life that immediately drew Lily's attention. She approached cautiously, speaking softly to the dog, whose tail wagged hesitantly. "Hey there," Lily said, kneeling down and extending her hand. "You look like you've been through a lot." The dog sniffed her hand, then nuzzled it, its trust coming more quickly than she expected. Lily felt a familiar warmth in her chest, a connection she hadn't felt since Max. Without hesitation, she brought the dog home, giving it food, water, and a soft place to rest. Over the next few weeks, the dog, whom she named Rusty, became a new companion for Lily. Though different from Max, Rusty brought a new kind of joy and energy to the farm. He had a playful spirit and an almost uncanny ability to sense Lily's emotions, offering her comfort when she needed it most. Lily often found herself talking to Rusty about Max, sharing stories of their adventures and the bond they'd shared. It felt like a way to keep Max's memory alive while embracing the new chapter of her life. One afternoon, while walking through the meadow with Rusty, Lily felt a sudden breeze that seemed to carry a whisper. She stopped, her heart skipping a beat, and looked around. The air felt charged, just as it had the night of Max's miraculous return. Rusty barked softly, his ears perked as if he too sensed something. Lily knelt beside him, running her fingers through his fur. "Do you feel it too?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The breeze swirled around them, and for a fleeting moment, Lily thought she saw a glimmer of golden light at the edge of the meadow. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to bring a smile to her lips. Lily stood and looked out at the horizon, the setting sun casting a warm glow over the fields. "Thank you, Max," she said softly, her voice carried by the wind. "For everything." Rusty barked again, wagging his tail, and Lily laughed, the sound light and free. She turned back toward the farm, her new companion by her side, and walked away from the meadow, her heart full of gratitude and hope. Though Max was gone, his legacy lived on, in the lessons he'd taught her, in the love she carried, and in the connections she continued to build. The Golden Meadow would always hold a piece of her heart, but Lily knew that the best way to honor Max was to keep moving forward, embracing the life he'd helped her rediscover. The seasons began to change, and with them, the rhythms of life on the farm shifted as well. The meadow, once vibrant with golden wildflowers, began to fade into muted tones as autumn settled in. The memory of Max remained ever present for Lily, but now it felt less like a burden and more like a gentle companion, a reminder of the love that had shaped her and the lessons she carried forward. Rusty, her new four-legged friend, quickly became a vital part of her daily life. His boundless energy and playful antics brought a lightness to the farm that had been missing since Max's departure. He had a knack for sensing Lily's emotions, always offering a wag of his tail or a comforting nuzzle when she needed it most. One crisp morning, Lily was walking through the meadow with Rusty when she noticed something peculiar. The area where the golden light had once surrounded Max seemed different. The grass was unusually lush and vibrant, standing out against the rest of the field. Lily crouched down, running her fingers through the blades, and felt an unexpected warmth emanating from the ground. Curious, she decided to dig gently with her hands. Beneath the surface, she uncovered a small object, a smooth, polished stone, not unlike the one she had found before. It had a faint golden hue, and as she held it, she felt a familiar tingling sensation run through her hand. Rusty barked softly, sitting beside her with an alert expression, as though he too understood the significance of the discovery. Lily turned the stone over in her hands, its warmth spreading through her palms. The sensation was comforting, almost as if Max's presence was with her again. "What do you think, Rusty?" she asked, holding the stone up to the light. "Is this a sign?" The dog wagged his tail and barked again, his eyes gleaming with an intensity that made Lily smile. She tucked the stone into her pocket and stood, a sense of quiet determination settling over her. There was something special about this place, something she still didn't fully understand, but she was willing to trust the journey. Over the following days, Lily began spending more time in the meadow. She brought a notebook with her, sketching patterns she noticed in the grass and jotting down her thoughts. The stone seemed to hum faintly whenever she held it, and though she couldn't explain its significance, she felt an unshakable connection to it. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lily sat at the edge of the meadow with Rusty by her side. The sky was painted in hues of orange and purple, and the air was crisp with the scent of autumn. She held the stone in her hand, its glow faint but steady, and closed her eyes. In the stillness, she felt something shift, a soft breeze that carried a familiar warmth, almost like an embrace. For a moment, she thought she heard a whisper, faint and fleeting, but it was enough to bring tears to her eyes. "Thank you, Max," she murmured, her voice trembling with emotion, "for everything." The weeks turned into months, and the meadow continued to be a place of reflection and discovery for Lily. Rusty remained her loyal companion, and together they navigated the changing seasons, finding joy in the small moments and solace in the quiet beauty of the farm. Though the mystery of the golden light and the stone lingered, Lily no longer felt the need for concrete answers. She had learned to trust in the connections she shared, with Max, with Rusty, and with the world around her. It was a lesson in love and resilience, a reminder that even in the face of loss, there is always a path forward. As winter approached and the first snowflakes began to fall, Lily stood at the edge of the meadow once more, Rusty by her side. The stone lay tucked safely in her pocket, its warmth a constant presence. She looked out at the field, now blanketed in white, and felt a deep sense of peace. "Come on, Rusty," she said, her voice soft but steady. "Let's go home." And as they walked back to the farmhouse, the golden light of memory and love followed them, illuminating the path ahead. Lily's journey with Max and Rusty reminds us all of the profound bonds we share with our pets and the strength we find in their love, even when they're no longer physically by our side. True love, after all, never truly fades. It transforms, guiding us in unexpected ways. If this story touched your heart, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced an unbreakable connection with a pet? Share your story, and let's keep this community of love and inspiration growing. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another heartfelt tale. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring more stories like this to life. Thank you for being a part of this journey. See you in the next video.